paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
Well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ban Ephemerate podcast. It's Brainstorm Brewery and Modern Horizons 2. Spoilers are coming at us very quickly.
They're previews.
Previews. My bad.
And they're coming at us.
We had a preview card.
Very slowly,
I would
because
know
it's
that.
happening over the course of multiple days. So
I mean, I guess they're spoilers because we didn't get a preview card. When somebody else previews
Yeah.
a card, it's a spoiler, and when you get a spoiler, it's a preview.
Of course, because that means you've, you've seen the document that says how you're supposed to refer to it. So, of course, they're all previews around here. But we're going to talk about Modern Horizons.
No, they're all
2
spoilers. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we are going to talk about Modern Horizons 2 spoilers tonight. We are going to do Breaking Bulk Pick of the Week. All of that stuff. We've got some emails. There's a lot to talk about
well, don't
this week.
spoil the cast. Don't spoil the cast about spoilers.
I just want to give people a heads up. This is what you can expect. In fact, if you look down in the YouTube
There's
description,
400 episodes. They know what to expect. Nobody's listening to this for
This
the
is
first
year
time.
9. Year 9 of the podcast.
and someone's listening. This is episode 1 for somebody out
There's
there.
no way.
Somebody. You never know. You never know how that
If
YouTube
this is
algorithm
your
works.
first episode, send us an email.
Yeah.
Or a TikTok, or a Vine, or a
No, brainstormbrew@gmail.com.
a smoke signal.
Prove it's your first episode.
Prove it's your first episode. All right, Jason will reward you if you can prove that this was your first episode of the show ever. So there you go. It is year 9, but it could be episode 1 for somebody. And you want to let people know what's coming ahead. If you look down the YouTube video there in the description, you can see some timestamps as well. But let's go ahead and get things started off with everyone's favorite segment where we always learn something. It is Breaking Bulk.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
How mean should I be to you guys today?
I don't know what that means.
Pretend it's Corbin. And just be mean accordingly.
Okay. I have a Jumpstart token card.
Is it one of the dividers? Or is it a token?
What is a divider?
Like, there's the things that are at the front of the booster pack. It's like, it's pirates or it's flying.
It is one of those.
Is it the pirates one? No, is it the dogs?
Nope.
Cats?
Is it the Phyrexian one?
It's the Phyrexian one. I
Wow.
gave it away a little bit by saying Jumpstart token card, but yeah. So for those who don't know, every pack of Jumpstart is a giant pain in the ass to open just because there's extra plastic.
Yeah.
Like, you always had the one family member growing up who would wrap your Christmas presents in another Christmas present and think it was funny every year. That's what Wizards did to you with Jumpstart. So you open the actual plastic, and then there's another layer of plastic, and then you open that, and there's 20 cards that you need to sort. And one of those cards in the front will tell you what the theme of the pack is, so you can mix and match it prior to seeing all the cards. You can go, I'll mix flying with Phyrexia, or elves with dogs, or whatever. You can just sort of Full Metal Alchemist those two packs. And the actual theme cards themselves, certain ones are worth money. So the Phyrexian one is the sort of the forefront. That's the one that you can generally get like $1 for on TCG Player.
The that product got hosed, did it not?
You mean like pandemic wise? Yeah.
Well,
it's like
it's the one game, it's the one variant of Magic that they've made that really, really specifically was meant to be like a party game. This is a multiplayer only type thing, and it got just destroyed because
They forgot to release it.
Smash Up was a great, a very popular game that I've seen a lot of people play. And that's exactly what Jumpstart was. And I think I had a lot of praise for the product when it came out. It's too bad that it never really got a shot. And now that all anyone cares about is opening a Muxus or the Allosaurus Rider or what have you.
I mean, there's still a lot of cards in that product that are worth money, which
there's a $4 basic land in that product. It's really hard to miss. Buying
there's like a $13 basic land in that product.
Oh, the Phyrexian Swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's like a dog.
Yes, the dog planes is like $4.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them.
So like it's tough to miss, man. If you got dividers that are worth money, jeez.
Yes, no kidding.
So, Jumpstart is just a product that's hard to get a hold of. They accidentally released it in the way to milk the most money out of it possible, but like the only people making money are the people opening Allosaurus Rider, I guess. So like all the reprints in there like stayed pretty stable just because they released it in so many small waves and it all just sells out immediately.
Well,
when it gets opened. It's really tough to control prices when you release it that crazily.
If you keep your finger on the pulse of Amazon and like notifications and whatnot, you can generally get boxes of this for like sub $100, and they're actually worth it to open. And I'm always the guy who's like never open sealed product, just grab it, flip it, make your 20% or whatever. Jumpstart is actually profitable to open on a large scale, assuming you have a sample size, because you get like one Allosaurus Rider per 5 boxes, I think. So Allosaurus Rider is just theoretically like $20 out of every box.
But there's like 5 $40 cards too.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which means that like you're on average going to make money opening a Jumpstart box, assuming you get like slightly under TCG low for every card over $1. And I mean, I mentioned earlier, like the actual physical logistics of opening Jumpstart is a part of that, because like there are some stores that have like the manpower to open and collate and just like sort regular sets. They're like, oh yeah, we open the pack, you do the thing, you sort the cards, you do the thing. And Jumpstart is, it just adds like 2 layers onto that. Number 1, because there's 20 cards per pack, and number 2, because there's the extra layer of plastic and just like logistics and dealing with the stupid products. Like you have to sort it a different way because all the cards are the same color. Like it's just really weird. So the actual physical logistics of opening product en masse like impacts your rate of return on boxes. So fewer stores opening boxes means you make more money if you snag a box on eBay or Amazon for $90. I mean, like you can see boxes behind me of Jumpstart. Like I bought all those on Amazon for like $90. And they're actually like worth it to open.
Google how to set up an alert for when it goes below a certain price, and you can do that on all kinds of product.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. For sure. All right, Jason, what do you have for Breaking Bulk?
I have a gold card that's been printed twice, once in Core Set 2019 and once in a Kaldheim Commander deck. A gold creature.
I mean, what kind of gold?
It's the elf, right? It's the elf, whenever a creature dies, they lose 1 or something like that.
Poison Tip Archer.
Yeah.
It's green. It's black. It is going to hurt them when you sacrifice a token to Chatterfang Squirrel General. I think Chatterfang isn't quite the squirrel deck everyone thinks it's going to be, because Chatterfang says when 1 or more tokens would be created, and squirrels are not the most efficient way to create tokens. I think you'll find there are some other ways to do it. Saprolings and, other things like that. And Poison Tip Archer incentivizes you to sack those squirrels. A lot of the typical ways people were building squirrel decks before didn't really have black at all, and Chatterfang has black in its identity. If you don't know what Chatterfang is, we will talk about it later when we move on to Modern Horizons 2, but I would be remiss if I did not mention that I think some non-squirrel stuff is going to go up as a result of this squirrel deck, and Poison Tip Archer is one that I have a good feeling about.
I got to give it to you. I thought for sure that would have been picked this year, but it has not. It must have been at least 6 months ago that one of us picked Poison Tip Archer. It's a great pick out of that set. All right, I've got another recent one.
Didn't you guys give me a bunch of shit last year for picking, what was that pirate that I picked like twice last year and you made fun of me and now it's $9? Like, turns out, like, sometimes it's just it's worth bringing up again.
Breaking Bulk. Well, hey, you know what?
I support both times, baby.
Yeah, I support the notion of using your segment, your FaceTime during your segment to pitch a card you want to talk about, even if it's not necessarily perfect for the game.
If I get it in bulk, it counts, right, DJ?
Oh, wait, no. Corbin, even if it's not necessarily perfect, just recently you were yelling at me about rules. And about how strict the rules were for breaking bulk.
DJ, look at what you did tonight, and I let it go.
Yeah. You didn't even pick a card. You picked a piece of garbage.
Yeah, I
You picked
consider
a piece
that.
of garbage.
Picked a
Empty
divider.
Stronghold booster pack wrappers are my pick.
We're not playing by the rules here
What is that
anymore.
piece of garbage made of?
Wow. Is it cardboard, DJ?
And what shape is it?
Is it rectangular?
So it's a magic card.
Worth money.
So's the thing to remind you not to play at your LGS. I should have collected those. That's what I should have done. Gotten as many of those as possible.
No table required.
No table
The ad
required.
card.
Suck at LGS. Just pass those out at games. Here you
Yeah,
go.
that was pretty rough. I won't lie. That one was a real.
Just use
slap
those at
in the
F&M.
face.
Like, oh, here I got a stack of tokens here.
It was just horrible. Like it was just so dumb. It's
not even
but
the worst
it
optics
tells
they've
you about
had.
priorities.
It's not even the worst optics for Wizards.
We're an esport now. Screw the LGS.
Except now it's 2021 and we're not anymore. So
So if you compare the number of changes organized play has had since 2016, or the number of variant printings in Modern Horizons 2, which one's higher?
You know, if Helene Bergeau were around, she wouldn't have allowed this to happen. She would have put her foot down. She'd be like, we're not an esport. And everyone would like, we're straight up scared of you. We will do what you say.
Because I mean, like, I don't know how many variant printings there are in Modern Horizons 2, and this is my job.
Nobody does.
And Corbin doesn't know how many changes organized play has had in the past 5 years, and that's his job.
It is true that there have been times when I am one of the top 2 people in the world who literally in the entire world knew the most about the organized play system. And sometimes I didn't know the answer to questions during that time. If that gives you any insight as to how confusing the systems and points were at times to players and so on. So, yep, that's a pretty fair criticism. That said, I want to read this tweet here. Let me find this. I used the like on Twitter to archive this for history as the like button was intended. A note, this is from Aaron Forsyth. They're talking about Modern Horizons 2. We're going to get into this, but there's different reprint slots in the pack. There's different rare slots. It's going to be a whole thing. So prepare yourself. We'll get into it in more detail. But first, for the two of you, I have a black common from Zendikar Rising.
Oh, it's the whenever. See, I used to be the card name guy. I used to be like, oh, it's this card. But I just now it's the thing that does the thing. It's the one black thing when the creature dies, it comes back. It combos with the new grief card, right?
Nope.
Really?
Are you talking?
Zendikar Rising?
Hold up. Are you talking about Malakir Rebirth?
That's uncommon.
Yeah, that's an uncommon, DJ.
Okay.
Yeah, that may be what you're referring to, but no, that's not what it is. This is a different card. This card costs 2 mana.
Where is it played?
Competitively. Maybe in mono black EDH, if that helps.
I don't think that's true. Is this a creature?
Nope. A mono black EDH deck would want this where a green black EDH deck would not.
I got nothing.
It's a pretty good hint.
I mean, I'm sure it is. I
just think about 4/4 flying vigilances and how they're green black. You know?
What?
It's common?
Yeah, remember the whole thing with the Great Designer Search question?
Yeah,
DJ?
I know what that. I just don't know how that relates to Black Common from Zendikar Rising.
Dude, I don't know.
It's Feed the Swarm. It's mono blacks.
That's uncommon.
Oh no, it's not. It's the destroy target enchantment. So he's talking about like
creature or
yeah.
enchantment.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. But like nobody cares about the destroy target.
Feed the Swarm is common?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 50 cents.
Oh, it is common.
Yeah, it's 50 cents market price, 75 cents median. And it had previously been a little more, but yeah,
it just got reprinted in C2021.
Yep, which is why the price has come down. But this is a mono black way to destroy enchantments, which is why a green deck with naturalizes would not need it. But this is an important card for black, especially
those
in
were all
competitive
good
formats.
hints in a universe where I didn't immediately think it can't be Feed the Swarm, because that's such an obvious only good card from that set, and also it's uncommon. So I was half wrong and threw me off the trail. Good one. You got me.
I did it.
You got us with
If Jason's half wrong, that means I'm the other half wrong, even though I didn't know anything about it. So, like...
And now let's talk about Modern Horizons 2, so we can all be fully wrong.
Let's
What do
not
you
make
all-
any pronouncements. Oh, this is certainly a Magic the Gathering set. I'm going to hold off on making any pronouncements about any cards. I'm not going to say anything. Holy Sword of Home and Hearth. All right. I tried. I tried not to make any pronouncements, but I'm pretty sure a sword that blinks a creature and goes and gets a land is pretty good. Although pro green and white seems kind of weird in EDH, but I guess they can't path it or block it with their green. I don't know. This card's a lot of fun, and I think that the last Modern Horizons gave us two swords that I think are both underrated, especially Sinew and Steel. I think Sinew and Steel is very underrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you. Describing this set, I mean, there are certainly good cards in multiple colors of the color pie. Strong planeswalkers, strong instants, strong creatures, and oh, by the way, ban Ephemerate.
Well, that's the weird thing. So I saw that. I was watching the stream, and I saw the Grief preview, and I was like, you blinked this during the game, right? And then I saw Brad Nelson tweet about it, where he's like, this looks insane, and then I realized I play tested it 6 months ago, and it's fine. So, like, there's the argument of, like, yes, you can believe Brad Nelson and Sam Black, but also didn't they play test Modern Horizons 1 with some number of, like, play design to... I don't know, like, I want to believe that it's not broken. I want to believe that they learned their lesson, and that, like, that was such an obvious thing that they didn't... I don't know.
But Grief Emerate seems pretty insane.
Yeah.
It seems like it's gonna... I don't know. It's one of those things where, like...
I'm not a Modern expert, so...
Yeah, it's just a thing you have to deal with, I guess. I don't know.
It makes the format significantly faster, but, like, maybe the reduction in card advantage and...
Does it? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that this... To me, that is to me, that would make the format slower, because there's plenty of decks that can be left to their own devices and win on turn 3 in the format. But the format has actually kind of slowed down a little bit as people have begun to play more and better and interaction and control decks and things like that. And to me, if you're playing Grief Ephemerate, it means you're playing some kind of very fair creature-based mid-range deck, right?
Well, I don't mean faster
Grief
in terms of, like, kill count. I mean faster in terms of, like, a lot of stuff happening on turn 0.
Oh, action. That's an interesting way to put it, velocity or whatever. And I think that they obviously are aiming to, and have been, if you look back to Modern Horizons 1, to make it more like Legacy. And Legacy is a format where all kinds of games actions happen in the first 2 turns.
Yeah. Like,
and
Legacy
yet
games go longer.
And yet games go long. Yeah.
Yeah, like, if you introduce somebody to Legacy and they're a new player, they're like, wow, everybody just dies to Storm on turn 1, right? And it's like, no, because Force will exist. And then you get into the whole, like, teaching them that you can just play mono-weight creatures and kill everyone with Dahlia or whatever. And, like, Legacy's a very fast format, but it's also very, like...
Grindy.
Yeah. So, like... I'm not sure if that's the correct decision to go with Grief. Again, like, I'm not a Modern expert, but I mean...
But Brad Nelson is.
Yeah, and, like, I certainly would probably be smarter to, like, trust his judgment than my own when it comes to this. But, like, you could also argue that, like, this could lean into, like, Splinter Twin being unbanned in the future. Just in terms of the fact that, like, there's so much interaction happening at such an early stage of the game that Splinter Twin being cast on turn 4 on a creature is, like, such a boomer thing to do that, like, that's just and like, they'll save it for when they need it. Like, they're not going to unban Splinter Twin on top of, after just dumping a bunch of gasoline out of the fire to, like, see what happens in the format. They'll wait until it stagnates. But, like, I think buying Splinter Twin has always been a correct decision when it's on the bottom of the
I think I agree with that, but I also think that end of turn Deceiver Exarch with Force of Negation backup Seems a little silly. Feels a bit silly to me.
But like you can
I'm
grief
still-
away their force of negation.
You can, man.
Like,
you can. I agree. We'll
got
see.
it.
We'll
I'm
see
still
what
laughing
happens.
from earlier when DJ said legacy games go longer, and I just imagined that the legacy as a format was like a fraternity, and they all made T-shirts.
Grief ephemerate one end of the spectrum. Then on the other end, we've got some neat cards here. Rishidan Dockhand, I have to mention, it's a 1/2 merfolk that has Island Walk and can pay a
What are you
mana and
cutting?
tap to tap a land. It's pretty good.
cut it. Cut it.
Wait, what are you cutting to play this?
No, I'm just saying cut the entire part where Corbin talked.
Yeah.
Thanks. You're cutting your curse catchers. There's definitely 4 to 6 slots in merfolk, even more really. That can be pretty flexible. It won't be hard to fit this card in. You can make this really lean version of
You can
merfolk
cut
that's
a
all
land.
2 drops now.
You can cut a land for this because it taps their land. So if you don't have lands, nobody gets to have them.
No one gets them. We'll see. I mean, Counterspell also coming into the format. That's a big deal that, in theory will help to slow things down.
Oh, is Counterspell a 3-mana 1/1 creature that you tap to counterspell one time? Or is it just Counterspell?
What?
It just seems like every time they want to add something to Modern, they're like, what's a card
It's a
that's good in
creature,
Legacy?
yeah.
Cool, let's make it on a creature that doesn't
Yeah.
do anything.
And engineered Plague Lord or whatever. No,
Plague Engineer.
Plague Engineer is worth so much money compared to Engineered Plague. They just made some of those creature versions of things became so much better versions of their legacy counterparts.
If they don't have to tap, like if it's got a static ability like an enchantment, that's cool. But if it has a tap ability like an artifact, get out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, Giver of Runes is fine.
Well, Giver of Runes is not. It's the
Giver of Runes
one
is fine.
white 1-drop version of a 1 white 1-drop
Yes.
creature. Like
Yes.
it's the same card, so
It's
fine.
it's perfectly reasonable. So there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, there's also a Planeswalker that costs 3 mana that comes into play with loyalty equal number of lands you control, Dakin Shadow Slayer.
I like how he has so much
that's pretty
text.
crazy.
Like his art is the size of a postage stamp. Like Richard Kane Ferguson showed a picture of it's on this huge beach towel size canvas that he has hanging on a wall. He did it on this droopy canvas with no framing, and he's got it as look how huge this is. It's the art is seriously 5 feet long for this, and they're like, oh, did we tell you we put so much text on this? You we are showing him from the waist up.
Rough.
Yeah,
That's why, but that's actually one of the neat things about, getting original Magic art. Shout out to Original Magic Art store. But this is one of the cool things is because the original art or the full art for something can look very different than the cropped version. The Faithless Looting that people hate on from the Mystical Archives is kind of a good example. The full art for that card kind of hits much differently than the version on the Faithless Looting printing. So it just kind of adds a layer to the art rabbit hole for Magic, which is sort of neat.
Can we talk?
But I
about
suppose the
my
artist would
favorite card
rather
in the
just
whole
have it
set?
on your card.
Is that
What's
sort
that?
of whatever?
Spreading Insurrection.
What does it do?
It's Threaten with Storm. How cool is that?
This card seems worse than Insurrection.
It is, but it's my favorite card in the set. Anyway.
That's fair.
It's a
That's fair.
threat effect.
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
I would love to just have a big Mind's Desire, and everyone's like, you whiffed. And I'm like, no, I cast 11 threatens. They're like, this is Modern. I have 2 1/2 creatures. What are you doing?
Let's talk about the big the big squirrel general, the 3/3 for 3 Chatterfang Forest Walk.
Wait, Corbin, it's Squirrel Commander.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Did you say
just-
Squirrel General?
I did. I did name the
Good.
card.
That's
Yeah.
what I would do.
Yep. I just read the card, just so we're clear. I'm taking no sides. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus that many 1/1 green squirrel tokens are created instead. And then black mana sacrifice X squirrels, target creature gets -X. Until end of turn, it's a mythic. How big of a deal is this, Jason?
The only thing that references squirrels is the sack ability, which isn't really the best ability on this card. I think people are going to narrowly focus in on squirrel stuff, and they're going to forget the fact that anything that makes creature tokens is very good. Michaeloth is good with this. Venger Zendikar is good with this. I'm blanking. What's that thing I have been calling every year with City's Blessing? Whatever. That dude. Anything that farts out saprolings, anything that farts out
Tender shoot dry.
thalids, anything that farts out a ton of creature tokens is very good with this because you get all those tokens plus the squirrels. You can use the squirrels to murder things, or you can just double your value. You have Chatterfang and Second Harvest and Doubling Season and Parallel Lives, and you're just gonna go ham,
yeah.
right? You're just
Like,
gonna play. You're gonna generate 3 tokens, but actually it's 6, but actually it's 12, and then you're like, oh, I can Craterhoof now on turn 4. It's amazing.
Like, I'm not saying that all of those cards aren't good with this, but like, people have been waiting for an actual squirrel commander for a very, very long time.
Correct.
And like, mono green wasn't gonna cut it because like it's just mono green, and people wanted to play like something that felt a bit more varied than just like
Right.
mono green aggro, or like just a different flavor of like furry elves or whatever. But like, just having this be black green will have a lot of people. Like, I remember when Earl of Squirrel from Unstable came out, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're errating this to be black border, right? Right? It's legendary, right? Huh? Earl of Squirrel?" And like, this will absolutely sell a lot of cards.
Would it kill them to make this blue in the activation so that I could play this with opposition? Would it
That's
kill
what we need is more blue-green decks in the format, am I right?
Squirrel Nest opposition needs to be ported to modern awkwardly. There's going to be a creature version of opposition, isn't there? It's like the opposer. Opposition agent. No, that's already a thing.
Yeah. Speaking of Squirrel Mob exists. It's a Squirrel Mob is a nice little squirrel rare, probably be a breaking bulk. In the future, it gets +1 for each other squirrel on the battlefield.
Well, there's a squirrel secret layer coming out too, so like there's a lot of squirrel buying this week. We record on Monday. By Friday, you're like every squirrel online is sold out. Even taxidermied like actual squirrels are being.
Well, they got hit in the algorithm,
Planter's
you
nut
know.
stock went up 100%, and you guys didn't mention it on the cast. We're recording Monday. We don't know what the fallout from Squirrelmageddon is going to be, but you know, from seeing like preliminarily, all the obvious stuff is disappearing. I think all the obvious stuff is definitely gone by Friday when you're listening to this, or if you went to patreon.com/BSB and give us as little as $20 a month, which is $4 or $5 an episode. You're listening on Wednesday, and you're like, well, it's Wednesday. The stuff's gone. People are not focusing on other stuff that doesn't make squirrels. You can't make a whole deck with just squirrel stuff. You're going to need other stuff, and anything that makes a ton of tokens, I think, pairs really nicely with this. And so does Poison Tip Archer. We did it. We brought my break in bulk full circle, and hopefully we can slide right into my pick of the week, which is also Chatterfang related, but not a squirrel.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
So my pick of the week, actually, I think Avenger of Zendikar. It gets printed a ton, and it always goes down, and always goes right back up. There are a ton of versions of this card, and you know, some of them are pretty cheap. The Secret Layer drop one is like above $30 now. That's pretty good. But like the cheapest possible version of this card is still like $6 despite a million printings. I don't think you can go wrong with any version of Avenger of Zendikar. And Avenger of Zendikar farts out a ton of tokens, and you will make an equivalent number of squirrels, which you can use to murder their creatures. Or make your stuff bigger. It's +X -X. So you actually have some flexibility with your Chatterfanging. So my pick of the week is Avenger of Zendikar on the basis of what a good pairing it is with Chatterfang, because you're a green deck, you got land. You got it.
Absolutely. There you go. I also want to point out another cycle, and we'll get back. We'll finish our picks of the week here in a little bit. But by the way, another squirrel card is Squirrel Sanctuary. Keep that in mind, breaking bulk in the future. But they're doing more of the living end, restore balance, suspend, but no mana value cycle. I think I got all that terminology correct. For instance, Profane Tutors, this is a cool commander card, I think. It's a rare in the set. You can't cast it. It has suspend 2 mana, and then it's a demonic tutor. Search the library for a card, put it into your hand, shuffle.
I would not.
You don't like it, Jason? It's just another demonic tutor that's slower. Slower is a huge friggin' asterisk.
But also,
I agree.
You get the card 2 turns after you need it, or you just suspend it and hope you'll know what you need later. Also, people are like, oh, this guy's doing some shit. If you suspend Profane Tutor on turn 2 with the intention of going to grab a land, people will still perceive that as this guy's trying to combo off.
I think you're probably right.
Even if you just turn 2, played a demonic tutor, everyone would be like, oh, demonic tutor, and you're like, wow, I'm just gonna get a thing. But if you suspend profane tutor, everyone's like, this guy's scheming. For whatever reason, the perception of this card, I think, is going to get you. This is gonna make you the arch enemy. Do you want to be the arch enemy? Cool. Then fine, play this.
I think you're probably
it's like
right.
way too slow. If I was forced to choose between this or Diabolic Tutor, I'd play Diabolic Tutor every time.
Because it's 4 mana, but you can go get exactly what you need when you need it. Profane Tutor, do you need the card right now? Then this sucks. Do you not know what card you need, but you have to suspend it now? This card sucks. I think this card sucks.
Let me hit you with this, and I believe this works. Now we're going to move out of Commander a little bit, but Electro Dominance, Profane Tutor, does that work?
Yeah.
Like, does that rules interaction work? Yes. Do I think it's good? No.
You created a 2-card combo that costs more mana than Beseech the Queen. You did it.
Well, Electro Dominance was my pick about 2 months ago. It has doubled since. Pick. Yeah, it's doubled since then.
Yep.
Because it does. Because this cycle is only going to maybe lend more to that. But these are already powerful decks in Modern. These Electro Dominance
they changed the rules
free spells.
So Cascade doesn't work, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So you can't Cascade into it.
Is basically the only way to cheat.
Well, there's Electro Dominance, but there's other cards that do what Electro Dominance does that can be in that deck. And that deck already has a ton of free spells. And it does some pretty silly stuff, frankly. I mean, there are some really wild decks out there. I would not be shocked to see Profane Tutor make an appearance in 1 or 2 of them. But also there's going to be other cards in the cycle. So who knows what's going on. But any Electro Dominance type card is probably something to keep an eye on.
Does anybody think that Bottle Golems is going to look super hot in foil?
Because it's got the green. It's got the very bright.
Is it the etched foil? Is it the ghost rare foil? Is it the
good call? Is it the ancient Egyptian Yu-Gi-Oh? Your move. It's time to dual foil. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. I think any shiny version of Bottle Golems is going to look pretty good. I may just start collecting these just to be a doofus.
They look you're probably right. It will be pretty neat. I don't know. It's also not one of those you have to worry about like being good or expensive. But
yeah, it's just a neat card.
Speaking of expensive, though, Cabal Coffers finally getting a reprint. We've been talking about it forever.
Oh man, the saltiness of people like, but you put it at Mythic, you might as well not reprint it. Okay. Like, sure thing, Chief.
I have a very simple reason why Wizards put this at Mythic, and it's gonna be a reason that you're not gonna like, but you're gonna. It's a good old spoonful of medicine that you're gonna need to take. Money. Wizards needs to make money. There's a period at the end of that sentence. I know it's not written out in crayon or Sharpie, but like the dual lands have been rare for a very long time, and just because Cabal Coffers has one kind of mana symbol on it does not mean that it is excluded from that rule. Like they sell they're not they're transparent about it. It's not a big secret. Rosewater and Forsyth have both said on Twitter, yes, dual lands sell packs at rare. There's a reason we have shock lands at the rare slot. And Hinterland Harbors and Fetch Lands. Like, they need to sell booster packs. Cabal Coffers is a mythic rare because they need to sell booster packs.
Yeah.
And also, what if you could get a Cabal Coffers for $7 or whatever a booster pack of this set costs? No one's told me. I don't know what I'm being charged for it, but I have ordered multiple cases of collector boosters, which I'm assured 2/3 of the total available different types of foils are in the collector boosters. So that's cool. As a brief aside, can we talk about how screwed up it is that nobody wants the Japanese foils from the collector boosters? They only want the Japanese foils from the set boosters. Because while it's the same card, they're printed different and look different. All right. Anyway, that's fucked. I hate that. But like, yeah, I ordered a bunch of the collector boosters, and I have no idea what they cost. But like, you could just buy a booster pack and get a Cabal Coffers. And Wouldn't it be great if you could have that, but also people who have Cabal coffers don't lose $80 on each copy? What if everybody could, be reasonably happy?
Well,
So,
that's not an option for those people.
well,
I mean, it's the thing is, I don't think any of us think that Cabal coffers necessarily should have ever gotten to a point where people had $80 to lose on a single copy of it. But now that we
who's
are
been saying
there,
for years to reprint Cabal coffers? Me.
I
Yeah,
know.
like all of
Yeah.
us have, for sure.
Yeah, but you're right. Now that we're there, it's a mythic due to the price. Deal with it. Basically, like it's just that thing where it's like you can be upset about it, but like you said, Wizards they're transparent. It's the same business model. It's pretty pushed these days, but it's realistically the same model that it's been for the 30 years that Magic's been around almost now.
And
so
every year,
you either deal with it or
the
you
game
don't.
does better.
I mean, it's just you know what you were signing up for when it comes to they're going to milk expensive cards for money, right? Like that's the entire premise of the business model of Magic the Gathering.
They
It's just
will
just what it
keep
is.
the reprint equity of Cabal coffers to give you an additional drip later down the line. They will give it another reprint, and you'll be excited about it, and you will continue to buy it.
Yeah. Well, I will personally just say I'm happy it's getting reprinted, regardless of how it's coming. It's a needed reprint. This is not. Keep in mind, this is not going to be a limited run print set the way that previous Masters type sets have been. Therefore, at Mythic or not, there's no, you can get this set. It's not going to sell out in the first week and never be obtainable again. So Modern Horizons 2 is putting as many Cabal coffers out into the market as people want to buy boxes.
And
So
also,
we'll see what happens.
there were some cards that didn't need to get reprinted that are getting hit. Can we talk about my Hall of Heliod's Generosity spec? Born 2021, died 2021.
Right. Yeah. Right there with you on
R.I.P. in
that
peace,
one.
Hall of Heliod's Generosity as a spec.
The old
And you know
Wolverine
what?
one is cool.
My ass that has 50 copies of this card, or however many I bought, is still going to run out. And for every deck that's running Hall, get the old border. So, me, I guess.
Well,
right? I can't
I
even
have-
complain if I am susceptible to these reprints.
I tracked down a set of Foil Force negations back in the day. Foil Forces for my Merfolk deck. And now, obviously, I need old bordered foils.
You can upgrade them.
Yeah.
I
You
even
don't
know
have
if
to
it'll
pay
be
the
an
full
upgrade.
value. You just have to pay the difference.
Yeah, if I find a store willing that has them and has a good price. It's sometimes hard to just find stores that have 4 of a high end copy of something.
Especially when there's 90
Niche like
versions
that.
of it. Like,
Especially,
I'm
yep,
sure
that's
I'll
right.
have one Modern Horizons 1 foil version, one Modern Horizons not foil version, and then one of this foil version. Like, it's...
I can't wait to try to list this shit online. It's like, all right, so it's the sketch card, but it's the old border, but it's foil, but it doesn't have the stamp. Okay, so what's that? And then, like, as much as we're kind of like, okay, this is confusing, but I'll figure it out. People are like, I ordered this and I got sent a completely different thing. And I was like, well, I guess there's people putting in less effort than me, so I don't feel as bad anymore.
So, like, when Wizards announced this entire endeavor back in Throne of Eldraine, they said it was Project Booster Fun. And they said that opening a booster would be an experience. They just didn't say that experience would be a headache.
No, listing them. This is a booster opening experience. Opening boosters is as much fun as it has ever been.
That's
But
not... I have never had that.
listing
endorphin rush.
them for sale is a pain in the dick. It's not a listing for sale experience. It's an opening experience.
I have never had a dopamine rush for opening a booster.
Well, okay, your brain is broken. And you should be able to diagnose yourself with your training, but you choose not to. I
Because
love
you just
opening
like booster
boosters, and I
opening.
have never loved opening boosters more than when there's like a $450 Japanese foil in there accidentally. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that just paid for the last 3 boxes I opened. Cool, this is easy. Easy life. You know?
Easy
So
game, easy life. Jason
great.
Alt right there.
Opening boosters, super worth it sometimes. The Jason Alt
All right.
story.
Only
Well,
Jumpstart. Jumpstart is the only pack that I will enjoy opening, because it's near guaranteed money.
Because it's got doggies and kitties in it, and you're that guy.
All right, let's get back to some pick of the week here before we run out of time. Jason gave us his. DJ, why don't you jump in now?
Harold's Horn. It was originally in C-17. It is in Jumpstart. One of the effects of the large swath of Jumpstart boxes being sent out on Amazon, hashtag not WotC, hashtag but still technically SWATC, is that Harold's Horn is down to like $9. It has historically been much higher than that, and it will go up again because it has the word creature type on it like 6 times, and it's an artifact, so it goes in everything. It goes in your squirrel deck. It goes in your new Merfolk, legendary Merfolk god deck. It goes in tribal gods. It goes in everything. It is Herald's Horn. It says draw a card every turn, especially for your card draw less colors. And Herald's Horn will be above $9 before too long.
Yep, I actually think that is just a pretty straightforward, solid pick, assuming it dodges further reprints.
You actually think that's a good pick. So what are you saying? My pick this week wasn't good, or his picks historically aren't good?
Neither.
I think you're just supposed to say yes to that.
Corbin Hostler, you're not... I think I just realized you're not a good podcast co-host. And on year 11... of a podcast, it's too late.
Have we gone through 2 years of this podcast in the past hour? Because it was 9 years earlier.
Yeah, that's how hyperbole works, you chunch. You'd know that. You've been a guest for 5 years.
Well, if we're on year 11, he's been a guest for longer than you got.
No, Corbin, it's 13. God, keep up.
I'm sorry. Jason's timelines are very confusing.
He's Father Time. He has control of this.
This is harder than Westworld.
We've been podcasting for 37 minutes and Corbin's like, we're out of time!
Jason is Father Time. He's the bearded old man white dude who can speed or temporal manipulate the podcast at will.
In a tracksuit. Well, everybody, welcome back then. As you can tell, we may or may not have just recorded some after hours, but here we are back, ready to finish picks of the week, as Jason mentioned earlier. Patreon.com/BSB. If you want to go hear those after hours, we've also got you'll receive glasses, you'll receive tokens, you've got all kinds of stuff that we have there, as well as the yearly rewards that we do. So Patreon.com/BSB if you want access to the spreadsheets and the after hours where we just recorded some content.
The pitch I just did that you don't get to hear unless you give us $20 a month, which is as low as $4 or $5 an episode. You also get these Hanson drinking glasses and all kind of stuff. It's worth it. You get to be our friend for $20 a month. You can be our friend.
We will validate your parasocial relationship. That is a service that we provide at tiered options. Not every Patreon does that. Some of them only have one. Some of them only have two. Yeah. We have many more than that. More than two. We have options for us to validate your parasocial relationship.
Plus, Gamer Boy bathwater coming soon.
The world's most cynical Patreon pitch. Thank you both. That was a great demonstration of that. Well, my pick of the week this week is Faded Infatuation. The card has climbed from bulk rare status to about 70-75 cents. Here over the past 6 months or so. This is a graph-based pick coming entirely off of MTG Stocks, which of course is our sponsor here on this podcast and the best place to go for all your Magic the Gathering finance needs, whether that is the interests, the cards that have moved the most in the past day, in the past week. You can look at all the prices in euros as well if you're across the pond wanting card prices. If you want Pokemon prices, you can go to pikastocks.com. It's the same technology driving it. So big shout out to MTG Stocks. And it was looking at the graph for Faded Infatuation on their website that I saw that this thing has doubled from, bulk rare quarter status to now 30 to 60, 75 cents. And this looks like a card to me that's going to probably continue climbing based on what the graph looks like.
What's the slope of the graph look like on the foils? Is it diverging?
Let's see, the market foil. It looks like it's climbing slowly, but similarly. Looks pretty much the same here. So it's a 3-mana blue instant. Put token on the battlefield to copy a target creature you control. If it's your turn, scry 2. So we've seen a fair amount of these copy effects getting pretty stronger in decks like this, and it's kind of a sort of mini but instant speed right of replication. So you can see some ways in which it can get played. Now it's really cheap, and I don't know of anything in particular driving this, but just based on this graph for an old card like this from Born of the Gods, it seems like one you want to pull out of your bulk, and it probably goes
Right
for
of
$2 or $3.
Replication. I have never seen that card cast for 4 mana. Right of Replication
I did
9
just
mana card.
Last night, as a matter of fact, I saw that card cost for 4 mana. It happens.
This is not a Right of Replication.
No, it is not. It's just a graph-based pick. The card's doubled in a short period of time after being bulk forever, and that means it's just going to continue to dry up and slowly move, and it ends up being a couple dollars.
It makes a creature into a token, and that is relevant a lot lately, more than it's ever been. Like just having ways to like double tokens and copy things that are tokens and just interact with tokens, but that are like also have all the abilities of a creature. Cards that do that, like there are fewer than you think, and having a way to do that, super useful. So like I think this is more useful now than when it was printed, and that is something to note also.
For sure.
Yeah.
I used to play this in Temet. I had a Temet deck put together for a while, which is the blue-white
interesting. Yeah.
Eternalize guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I played this in Temet, and I would like copy Stoneforge and then do dumb things with that. Batterskull's a germ token, that kind of thing.
Nice. All right, well, everybody, there is our pick of the week's reminder. You can go to MTG Stocks to look at all of the latest interests for the day previous, for the week, whatever time periods you want. All right, before we get out of here this week, we want to take at least one reader email here. So, DJ, you have one queued up for us?
I do, from a good friend of mine, actually. And that's the only reason this email is getting read. Not even because I meant it's kind of funny because I was like parasocial relationships, but no, this person's an actual friend.
This person gave us money and you called them a friend on the podcast. Do you see how this works? Patreon.com/BSB. Buy it at the friend tier of $40 a month, which is $8 or $10 an episode.
Former patron that didn't realize his credit card was declined and hasn't been paying for months, but signed up again to send this email.
Oh, nice. Okay,
AJ.
I accept.
AJ, sup nerds, thanks for the years of entertainment. I don't know why I've been listening so long. I'm looking forward to Brew Crew Party 2 Electric Boogaloo in 2022, maybe 2023.
It's Broogaloo, and also the alt-right ruined that word, but also it's Broogaloo.
Okay, I'm not even going to delve into that. When speculating on cards being printed now, which version are you likely to go after? Extended Art, Showcase, OG, Foil, Ghost Rare, Hot Pockets version, etc. I added 2 of those. Guess which 2 I added?
Is it the Ghost Rare and the Hot Pockets?
Because Wizards doesn't even know which of those 2 aren't real.
Exactly.
Aaron Forsyth is like, did we do Hot Pockets?
Set for
that's
my
Aaron
stall.
Forsyth voice. I don't know why that's my Aaron Forsyth voice.
Set for my work stall with a 1/2-inch gap around the door.
Nice.
Well,
I tend to go for the regular versions of things. That said,
it depends on the cards.
I really just prefer to avoid those cards as much as possible.
It does depend on the card. There are certain instances where I will want the most cool version. Recently, I picked Sanctum of All based on Kamigawa leaks. And that is a card where I specifically noted the extended art foil because the regular one is like a very, very bulky rare, and I don't expect it to move to the point where you'd be able to move a significant number of copies for a higher price. But like the extended art foil is like $1, so if that one goes to $5, it's better than like the quarter going to $1 kind of thing.
I tend to like pick new cards at all. Like really, new cards for me. Yeah. New cards move the prices on old cards where the supply is lower, the supply is concentrated in the hands of dealers. I just don't like dealing with the new stuff as a spec usually. I like what it does. I like when it creates new archetypes and makes older stuff relevant again. So like maybe I'm dodging that by like not having the option, but man, I don't even like foils that much.
No, I think that's accurate.
No, I think
there's certain cards where you can get the older the foil version, or like maybe certain situations where the super fancy version is correct. But
I wanted the best opposition agent, if that makes sense.
But what is the best though? Like when people's like, "What is the best basic land
for
you should
that
buy?"
card?
I'm
It
like,
was
it's so open to interpretation. Some people like the old border stuff. Some people like the old border foil. Some people don't like the fact that like you can't get some of the new stuff in non-foil because they want the new stuff as an alternative to foil because they don't want foils in the deck. So like there are so many different ways someone's personal taste
like there's Godzilla, there's unstable foil, there's unhinged foil, there's like somebody who wants like, oh, I only want the foil lightning planes from whatever, from Odyssey or whatever. Like there's so many variants with basic lands. They're very much flavor of the month and or just like personal preference.
Yeah. So when it comes to the newer stuff, you know, if there's a full art foil version of it, that at least, you know, I guess we'll see what happens with the current set moving forward, but with Modern Horizons moving forward. But at least over the last year or so, those seem to have been the sort of most popular, best versions. So I'd want the full art foils first in terms of high end.
There's a specific card from Call Time that I think is a really good example of this. The World Tree. I think that is a very good example of a card that everybody knows who is listening to this podcast without us needing to tell you, like, yes, this card will be worth twice as much in a couple years, some number of months from now. And this is a good example of like, okay, both of you, which one do you want? For the World Tree. It's Call Time. It's got all the words on it. It's the land that says once you have X lands in play, it's all your lands are rainbow.
On this card, I want the full art foil.
Okay. I don't disagree. I think both are fine. I think both of them will increase at roughly the same rate, but it is a commander card that is 5-color deck, so like you might only be able to move a fewer number of them. So like in that situation, the extended art, like again, I think both versions of this card are fine. I would not touch any version in between. I would not want the pack regular foil or the extended art non-foil. I would either want the cheapest one or the coolest one.
Right. And for me, I only want the coolest one when they're a card that seems extremely stapley, like Hull Breacher, Opposition Agent. You know, in the World Tree, I mean, kind of feel like it fits into that
it's
a little
not
bit.
stapley,
you know,
but it's like, it's the level of flavor that is just like...
Yeah, it just kind of feels like it's going to be played for a long time in the decks it's played in, you know, sort of thing. But another one to look at is the Great Hinge. So the Great Hinge, the full art... make sure I get this right here. There's a full art version, which is $70. There's a regular version, which is $48, which is insane in itself. The full art foil is, according to TCG Player, worth over $200, which is it was, you know, it's for reference, in May of 2020, the full art foil was $80.
As an aside, for cards like this, you do want to check more than one source that is not TCG. Like, you'd want to check eBay. You want to, like, if there's like 2 or 3 listings on TCG that say 200 plus, you don't just go, well, I guess it's 200 plus. You check eBay completed listings. You check Card Market for Europe. You check Hardware for Japan. You check Facebook completed listings on like marketplaces and stuff like that. You can get a lot of data samples that aren't just like, I guess TCG has 3 listed. So that's just another.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's why you heard the little bit of hesitation in my voice there. I mean, that's the market price on the foil is $225. There's a bunch listed on TCG for actually more than that. But DJ's right. A lot of times when you get into cards like this, at this price, you should always check more than one place. So there you go. Yeah, that was a thank you for emailing us. That was kind of a fun question to dive into. I think that probably wraps it up for us this week. Jason, DJ, any shout outs you want to give before we head out?
If you would like us to shout you out, give us money. We'll shout out $40 patrons.
Shout out to Commander Crunch. I was on their cast about a week or so ago, and it was a lot of fun. It was especially fun because I am very much a morning person, and they are in Australia. So they were like, hey, we'll wake up super early for you so we can cast at your time evening. I was like, no. I will happily get up at 6:30 a.m. and cast at 7 with you guys.
Nice.
You're a mutant.
That works
How
out.
do you do that? My God.
I agree. I don't know how you pull that off, but good for you. My brain doesn't work that early. Anyways, everybody, I'll leave you in suspense as to what that conversation was about. But thank you so much for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. We appreciate all of the listeners, all the patrons, everybody who tunes in every week, whether on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe, or anywhere you can find podcasts. Thank you so much for listening. Shout out to our sponsor again, MTG Stocks. We'll see you all next week.
And if this is your first time listening, send us an email.